A former prince spent 11 hours in a British jail today under investigation for possible wrongdoing as a trade official. This is not, at least not yet, about sex trafficking or sexual abuse related to Jeffrey Epstein, but it arises out of suspicions linked to Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's long-running relationship with Epstein. The King of England endorsed the arrest. When the reputational and now potentially criminal blast radius of the Epstein investigation reaches the monarchy, it is a global news event. For years, Virginia Giuffre said Epstein trafficked her to the former Prince Andrew in 2001 when she was a teen. Giuffre also alleged the former prince sexually assaulted her. Andrew denied this for years, but reached a settlement in 2022 with Giuffre in New York, transferring an unknown sum of money without admitting guilt. Giuffre took her own life last year. Her brother and sister-in-law, passionate advocates in Virginia's memory, will join us in just a moment. First, we turn to MTS Tayeb for the latest on Andrew's arrest. MTS, you're up late. It's been a very long day. Catch us up on the entire panoply of events dealing with the former prince, the reaction there, and the monarchy itself.
Major, what an extraordinary day. I have to be honest with you, when I saw that alert that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, had been taken into police custody, while I thought something like this could happen, to see that it actually did was shocking. British police, crossing a threshold once thought unbelievable, taking a member of the royal family into police custody to be questioned. Now, he has since been released. We've seen that image of Andrew, formerly Prince Andrew, released from police custody. That doesn't mean he's a free man. He can be arrested again at any time, and that investigation continues. One of the places that he used to call home, a place called the Royal Lodge, is still being searched by police. They're looking for things like laptops, cell phones, documents, anything that could underscore this investigation into the allegations of misconduct in public office. That is what they are investigating Andrew for, a charge so serious that if he's convicted, and if he's charged and indeed convicted, he could face life in prison. Major.
And MTS, explain to our audience just how big a deal it is for the King of England to not only endorse this, but to say, as he did, he wants all of this to play out and is fully supportive of wherever this investigation might eventually lead.
Well, Major, here in the UK, the royal family is known as the firm, which tells you that it's sort of seen almost as a business that the royal family is a part of. And that has to come first, not the individual players. And Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is frankly not as important as the institution itself. You're looking at Buckingham Palace behind me. This is a 1,000-year history, which of course has seen a lot of up and downs over the years, but King Charles making it very clear that the law must run its course, if that involves his brother being charged and indeed convicted, well, that is what the law will do. It is still striking and shocking. Never in the modern history of the British royal family have we seen anything like this. You used the word blast radius in your introduction. That's really what it feels like here in the UK. Right now, the king trying to keep calm and carry on. In fact, going to a London Fashion Week event as normal, quote unquote, still being shouted questions about his brother and his conduct. This is something that's going to be rocking this family for quite some time. Major.
And it may have implications for British politics as well. MTS Tayeb, thank you very much.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, has been released under investigation from police custody after his arrest in the UK Thursday morning. The 66-year-old was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office following the latest release of Epstein files by the U.S. Justice Department. Police also conducted searches at Mountbatten-Windsor's current home in Norfolk and his former residence at the Royal Windsor Estate. He has not been charged with a crime. and has in the past denied any wrongdoing. Mountbatten-Windsor has not commented publicly since his arrest. The former royal was stripped of his title last year because of his connection to the late sex offender Giuffre Epstein. He faced accusations by Virginia Giuffre, who died by suicide last year, that she was trafficked to have sex with Mountbatten-Windsor when she was underage. Her family spoke with Major Garrett earlier on the takeout about their reaction to the news.
Following that boost of emotion or that boost of joy, really vindication for Virginia. I mean, I could tell you it's been kind of an up and down day. We've had a lot of a mix of emotions. I found myself crying in a restaurant earlier for really no other reason than just that we miss her. We wish she was here to see this, and this is a day for her survivor sisters. This is a day that they were wanting for a long time, and I think it gives a little bit of vindication to her and to her survivor sisters.
CBS News correspondent Tina Kraus joins me now from London. What is Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor being investigated for, and do we have a potential timeline?
Well, good evening, Lindsay. The investigation is, of course, related to this suspicion of misconduct in public office. He spent about 10 years as UK's trade envoy in the 2000s, and there is some questions regarding 2010 that Andrew actually sent these confidential emails, the information government documents, highly classified documents, to Giuffre Epstein. And these were things like reconstruction in Afghanistan, investment opportunities in Hong Kong and around the world. As far as a timeline, what we do know is that Thames Valley Police, who arrested him this morning in Norfolk at his home on the Sandringham estate, the King's Royal Estate, they believe that they had sufficient reason to arrest him and question him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have kept him for 12 hours in custody. They have released him, but it's important to note that they said they released him under investigation, meaning they can call him back at any time. They could rearrest him and bring him in for more questioning. As for a certain timeline, we don't have it, but we do know the police department says they have momentum.
And we've seen so much scandal in the past of the royal family, but nothing like this. How big of an impact could this have on its future?
Well, absolutely. You know, it has been more than 350 years since we've seen the arrest of a senior royal. The last one was King Charles I, and that was for treason way back then. And, you know, when Queen Elizabeth II was alive, she kind of lived by this landmark motto of never complain, never explain. And so it was noteworthy that today that the king wasted no time in issuing a statement and letting people know that he's learned about this arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. He, of course, didn't say my younger brother in this, but we all know that is his younger brother. He said that this should be a full and fair and proper process by which the issue is investigated in an appropriate manner, so the law runs its course. And he said that he's willing to let investigators speak with him if needed, but as for what's going to happen with the monarchy, we will have to wait and see.
Tina Kraus at this late hour. Thank you.
But we begin with breaking news on the fallout from the Epstein files that's shaken the British royal family. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew and brother of King Charles, is under arrest today. Andrew is facing charges of public misconduct stemming from revelations in the Epstein files. King Charles released a statement about his brother's arrest, saying in part, "I have learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I have said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course." All right, let's go live now to CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio outside Buckingham Palace for us today in London. Ramy, thank you so much for your time. Can you take us through this arrest and what led up to it?
Absolutely, Mugo. Good to be with you. And first, I just want to put this into historical context because this arrest of a royal, let alone a senior royal, has not happened in the modern history of the United Kingdom. You have to go back maybe 300 years or so for something like this to have happened. But with regards to what happened this morning, how it unfolded, 8 a.m. is what happened when British police arrived at Sandringham Estate. Now, this is not here in London. This is about 3 hours north of us. And that is where several unmarked police cars and several plainclothes officers did arrest Andrew, the former prince, on suspicion of misconduct while in public office and linked to Giuffre Epstein. Now, Mugo, when we think of Giuffre Epstein, we do think of probably first and foremost sex trafficking allegations over the past several years. But this actually relates to financial interests and potential financial benefits to potentially Epstein, to Andrew, or to third parties that are not yet really known. And this dates back to when Andrew was a trade envoy for the United Kingdom. This is from 2001 to 2011, and specifically the years 2010 to 2011, according to a senior administration official, senior security official, who told CBS News that that is a time frame. And that is when Andrew was flying around the world, really. In Asia, he visited Vietnam, Singapore, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, China, just across the border. He also was in touch with people regarding investments in Afghanistan and Helmand province, and then sending these emails that he was getting onwards to Giuffre Epstein. And so that is the crux of this, the financial issue, financial benefit to Epstein and to other people.
And Remy, what can we expect to see happen in the coming days?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's early hours yet, and we are trying to figure out whether he has actually been booked on any allegations. If he has been, the clock has started to tick on at least the first 24 hours of him, Andrew, being in police custody, being in detention someplace we also do not know just yet. If there are no charges leveled against him in these first 24 hours, there's a possibility we might see Andrew go free. But Mugo, if this is constituting something that's more serious nature, he could be in custody through the next 96 hours. It just really depends on what the police find, what they haven't found yet, what they think they might be able to find over, again, this next 24 to to the next 4 days.
Yeah, and Remy, I'm also really curious about this because in the statement from UK police, they didn't specifically mention that it was Andrew who was taken into custody. So how did you all out there, the media in the UK, how did you realize this was Andrew?
Sure. Coming out from this, the fact that police went to Sandringham Estate, that is where he has been for at least the past few weeks or so after he left. I think we could say kicked out from the Royal Lodge on the grounds of Windsor Great Park, just west here in London. In terms of the reaction, I think people really know this is all about Andrew. He signed emails with A or HRH, His Royal Highness. And in terms of what the reaction has been, people we've been talking to, people we've been hearing about, saying that they've been surprised, but also, Mugo, that they have been pleasantly surprised. People have been throwing out the word corruption here, leveled against Andrew, and that people who are elitist, who are in this echelon linked to Epstein, they thought maybe they would go free, they would walk free. But now people are thinking, if the former Prince Andrew can be taken down, so people are saying that he might be the first domino to fall in what could be a number of people in the UK, across Europe, in the United States, around the world that could fall in the future.
Wow. Okay, Remy Inocencio in London for us today. Thank you so much for your time. I'm joined now by Erin Hill. She's a senior editor for People covering royal news. Erin, we appreciate you joining us on 24/7 today. This is a shocking moment in British royal history. What is your take on the impact of Andrew's arrest?
Absolutely. As you said, this is unprecedented. We have not seen anything like this in modern royal history. And behind the scenes today, right now at the palace, we know there's a lot of high-level discussions going on, and we know from King Charles's statement that he's continuing with business as usual, saying him and his family will continue on with their duty, which we have seen. He's stepped out already, as has his wife, Queen Camilla. So today, the message is all going to be about that nobody is above the law, even when it hits close to home, right within the monarchy.
Yeah, and this investigation, it was pushed by an anti-royal group. Could what's happening with Andrew bolster the movement in the UK?
Yes, and I think we've already seen that. We've seen a lot of different politicians being under investigation and called into question. I think there's a real reckoning happening right now, and no one's going to be protected.
Yeah, can you speak to just how big of a deal this is? We're talking, I mean, yes, he's a former prince, but he's still part of the British royal family. Just how big of a deal is this to hear that he's been arrested?
It's huge. This is Queen Elizabeth's son, her beloved son, her favorite son, and he still remains eighth in line to the throne. His daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, still have their titles. They're still HRH status, and they remain in line to the throne. And we haven't seen anything like this. We're going back generations, centuries. King Richard I, Anne Boleyn, Mary Queen of Scots. We haven't seen anything like this in modern royal history, and it's very, very important for the royal family right now to not get in the way of any of the investigation, which we've seen. This is not a moment to deflect or to worry about reputation. I mean, this is a criminal procedure, and they're going to be aiding in any way possible.
Is there any indication that King Charles has maybe something to play in all of this? We know when the Queen was alive, there wasn't much done to go after the former prince. At this point, the King, we saw his statement there. He's very much in full support of this investigation.
And I think that's carefully worded, and that's a careful statement coming from him that he does not want to stand in the way. He doesn't want to be seen as protecting or trying to deflect. He's going to be working and cooperating with the police, as he said, and with the government. But I think this does call into question Queen Elizabeth's legacy and what she may have known, what she may have been protecting. And I think fairly a lot of people are discussing that right now about what she knew, and there will be a lot of internal questioning being done about who within the royal family may have known.
All right, People's Senior Editor Erin Hill, thank you so much for your time today.
Some lawmakers in the U.S. are demanding more accountability for some Americans linked to convicted sex offender Giuffre Epstein in the wake of former Prince Andrew's arrest. In a social media post, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer criticized the U.S. Justice Department's handling of the files, comparing it to the response in European nations. And he said, quote, in France, the Paris prosecutor's office just opened 2 investigations based on new leads from the released files. In Britain, former Prince Andrew has been arrested over ties to Epstein. When will there be justice in America? NPR investigations correspondent Joseph Shapiro joins me now. He wrote about this in a recent article titled Epstein Files Fallout Takes Down Elite Figures in Europe, while U.S. reckoning is muted. Thank you so much for being here. So in addition to the former prince, what repercussions or consequences have people connected to Epstein faced abroad?
Right. Well, it's striking. It's not just a member of the royal family, British politicians, government officials. They are being investigated. They've lost positions. They've had their reputations sullied. Britain's ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson, was forced to step down in September. Last week, he resigned from the House of Lords. There was even pressure briefly on the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. There was some thought last week that he might be forced to step down because he'd been such a supporter of Mandelson. Last week, that pressure seemed to ease after the Prime Minister apologized for supporting Mandelson. But the bottom line is that in Britain and other European countries, places like France and Norway, there are investigations. People are losing jobs. People are being held accountable. Just actually not for the any kind of sexual misconduct with Epstein, but for their financial and close personal ties to him. In the United States, we're not seeing that kind of reaction.
Why do you think that is?
I think in the United States, partisanship and money in the U.S. And embarrassment in Europe. You know, we've had periods in this country where we've had a lot of accountability in the period after Watergate, more recently with the Me Too movement. But right now, President Donald Trump dominates politics in a way that other presidents haven't. And for him, accountability is something that's both partisan and personal. it took Congress to pass a law to force the Justice Department to release the Epstein files, but the president has his personal appointees at Justice, and Justice Department might determine whether there are investigations of individuals because of what's in the Epstein files. It also controls how much of the files get released and what gets released. In a place like Britain, you've got a parliamentary system. It's easier. Politicians are often closer to the people. You can have an election. You don't have to wait every 4 years. That also plays a role. Europeans were, he said, that they were humiliated by this connection with Jeffrey Epstein.
Joseph Shapiro, thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Now to the stunning fall of a man who used to be a prince and the fallout from a man who used the rich and powerful and ended up dead in prison. Overnight, former Prince Andrew arrested over his ties to sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew's brother, King Charles, in full support of the investigation. Live to London, and CBS News royal contributor Amanda Foreman. Amanda, a lot of focus on Andrew's relationship with Epstein in the context of sexual misconduct, but this arrest is related to trade secrets. What exactly does that mean?
Well, the trade secrets that are being referred to are confidential reports that former Prince Andrew received while he was a trade envoy up until 2010-11, and it is alleged that he passed on these confidential reports to Epstein, and that Epstein intended to use them, or did use them, to get advantage for making trade deals with various countries, including Afghanistan, for example, Hong Kong, Vietnam, China. And so these are serious allegations.
There has been a lot of discussion in our world about why Epstein did what he did. And one of the assertions is that potentially he put powerful people in compromising positions, compromat, so to speak, to then leverage that to gain in other ways. Do you think that that allegation could get some discussion here as we see the prince's case go forward?
Yes, and in fact, this is what insiders and observers, both royal watchers and of politics in Great Britain, are hoping for, because this is the minestrone soup of scandals. It's incredible, but it isn't just former Prince Andrew. It isn't just Andrew. It is also the Labour government now in power, and they were also in power during these alleged crimes that may have taken place. The other person accused is Lord Mandelson, who was the business secretary at the time. He is also accused of handing sensitive reports to Epstein, who is a great friend of his. Everybody got drawn in, including then Prime Minister Tony Blair. What you're dealing with is a very, very, very clever person with Epstein, and in the case of Andrew, a very stupid person. And one used the other. Both thought that they were using each other, but actually Epstein always seems to have got the upper hand. Andrew's job was to be a trade envoy. He wasn't a civil servant, but he was working in a public capacity. His job was to attract investment to Great Britain. And so he thought that he was acting in Britain's interest by hanging out with Epstein, and in that way that people do, and they sort of seem to be rubbing each other's backs, and you do me a favor and I do you a favor, and that kind of thing. Blind and stupid and easily manipulated. But this scandal goes much, much deeper than just Andrew.
Right. When we see these threads getting pulled, you have to wonder, to what benefit? Was it solely to Epstein's benefit? Certainly more threads to pull on this story, and likely for years to come. Let's just go out to the macro here. You're seeing the reaction there in London and elsewhere on that side of the globe. This is explosive. This is history-making scandal, no?
Oh, it is absolutely a history-making scandal. And it could bring down the Labour government as well. So this doesn't just affect the royal family. And in fact, the royal family, from what I heard, and the king especially, they welcome actually a full and fair investigation, because it will expose not just Andrew, but other members of the then Labour government, who are also in this current Labour government, to scrutiny and what they were doing and what they may have received from Epstein as well. So it is huge. It isn't just the royal family who, they're kind of sitting pretty in a way. They already divested themselves of Andrew. They already have a slimmed down monarchy. He doesn't do anything for them and hasn't done for a while.
Well, and as we see this house of cards begin to shake, and that is probably the understatement of the world, our mind is also on the survivors who came through this experience, and also the one who was lost. Thank you so much, Amanda Foreman. Great conversation. Appreciate you. Hope to see you back soon.
We want to read now the entire statement from Virginia Giuffre's family. It reads this: "At last today, our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty. On behalf of our sister, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, we extend our gratitude to the UK Thames Valley Police for their investigation and the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. He was never a prince for survivors everywhere. Virginia did this for you." Let's bring in our CBS News royal contributor. That's Roya Nika. She is a royal editor for Britain's Sunday Times, and I know that she's getting in position even as we speak. But Roya, we're very excited to have you this morning because we all woke up to this news, and I have to say, we're all still processing it here in the States. I can't imagine what's happening in the UK. Do you know yet if the king is going to respond directly to the arrest of his brother?
Well, good morning, Gail. This is all happening very fast, but we have just literally this minute had a statement from the King about the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, and I can read that statement to you now. He says, "I've learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and the suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I've said before, they have our full, wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. As this process continues, it would not be right for me to comment further on this matter. Meanwhile, my family and I will continue in our duty and service to you all." And that statement from the King is signed Charles R. So that is the response. Extraordinarily, we are due to see the King open London Fashion Week imminently, as his brother has been arrested this morning. So that's just in, Gail.
Yeah, I'm wondering, it was stunning. For us here in the United States, did you all have any heads up? Was there any talk that this was possibly in the works? Were you all as surprised as we were here in the U.S.?
There has been momentum building over the last few days, Gail. We saw yesterday, I think, an accumulation of around 7 or 8 police forces getting involved. We also had the involvement announced yesterday of the NCA, which is our national crime agency, sometimes described as the British FBI. So there has been a feeling that police forces could no longer not look at this very seriously, and I think it has been moving in one direction. That said, to see those police cars arriving, about 8 of them this morning, at the Sandringham estate, at Wood Farm, where Andrew is temporarily staying, is quite a moment. This is the King's brother who has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in a public office, the first senior royal to ever be arrested.
Roya, it's Vlad. Have we heard anything at all from the prince's former wife, Sarah Ferguson, and his daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, and how they are perhaps reacting to this news?
But at the moment, this is all very new. We have not yet heard from the former Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, or from Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. It has been quite interesting in the last few weeks. Sarah Ferguson, we know, has been abroad a little bit. She has kept a very low profile, as have the princesses. Obviously, very difficult time for them. It's been made very clear from the palace and from the King that regardless of what Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor may or may not have done, and we must stress he has always denied any wrongdoing in this issue, that the King has always been very clear to keep the girls close, but this is going to be a very difficult time for them. Things have seriously escalated now.
Roya, the phrase misconduct in office, what exactly does that mean? I'm not familiar with that. And what happens now?
Well, misconduct in a public office, there's various forms of it. What the police are looking at specifically here is the emergence of what the emails in the Epstein files appear to show, which is that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, during his decade as the UK's trade envoy from 2001 to 2011, appeared to send sensitive, highly classified documents and information, government information, briefing information on things like reconstruction in Afghanistan, on things like investment opportunities around the world, from his trips around the world, from China contacts, to Giuffre Epstein. And there is a suggestion, not proven, there's a possibility that Giuffre Epstein may have used some of that information to his financial advantage. We must stress again that Andrew has not been charged. He has merely been arrested on suspicion of this and denies any wrongdoing. But if someone is charged and if they are found guilty of that offence, it does carry a maximum life sentence.
Wow. All right. Roy and Nika, we appreciate you getting on the air for us this morning with the breaking news. Thank you very much.